My name is Kirsten Plummer, and this is my Data Management ISU on the effects of climate change. These are the sections that I will be covering. The question that I asked was, does climate change exist? And when asking if climate change exists, there are several factors that I have analyzed. The dependent variable I measured was global warming. An IPCC special report on the impacts of global warming has shown that 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels and related global greenhouse gas emissions pathways in context of strengthening the global response to the threat of climate change. Greenhouse gas effect is when sunlight passes through the atmosphere, heating the Earth's surface, creating a blanket of heat. And this is a chart that I have shown that displays the gas emissions that society contributes to. The independent variables that I have chosen, the first one being greenhouse gas emissions. Evidence shows that only increased concentrations of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, specifically carbon dioxide concentrate, can explain the Earth's observed warming trend. The second variable that I have chosen is the rising amount of chaotic weather. Between 1990 and 2010, there has been a warming of 1.7 degrees Celsius. Since 1990, annual average temperatures in the contiguous 48 states have changed. Since 1991, the average surface temperature across the contiguous 48 states has risen at an average rate of 0.14 degrees Fahrenheit per decade. And the global average surface temperature has risen at a rate of 0.15 degrees Fahrenheit per decade. In section 3, I'm showing the first dependent variable. And I am displaying the mean, median, mode, the quartile 1 and 3, the range, standard deviation, and distribution, as well as my chart. This is the first independent variable, which is the global greenhouse gas emissions, which displays the mean, median, mode, quartile 1 and 3, range, standard deviation, and distributions. As you can see, the distributions, it is skewed left. And this is the second independent variable, which is global surface temperature increase. It displays the mean, median, mode, quartile 1 and 3, range, standard deviation, and distributions, showing that it is symmetric because the mean and median are the same. Section 4, 2 variable measures with linear models and correlations. So I've created a scatter plot to display the greenhouse gas emissions, which is the first independent variable. The second scatter plot I have created shows the global surface temperature increase, which is the second independent variable that I've chosen. Section 5, identify and remove relevant points. On the greenhouse gas emission scatter plot, the most influential point is the 28,000 emissions that grew in year 2000. On the global temperature increase scatter plot, the most influential point is the 0.15 degree in 2000 because it is both the median and mean. It is also a representation of the increase of temperature per decade by 0.15 degrees. Section 6, classification of correlation type. For these two models, I designated them as cause and effect because one is the greenhouse gas emission and the other is the surface temperature. Therefore, the greenhouse gas emission as it rose caused the surface temperature to rise, which is why the greenhouse gas emission is the cause, and the surface temperature would end up being the effect as it rises as well. Section 7, conclusions from linear models. When looking back at the original question of whether climate change truly exists, most evidence I have presented is in favor of that possibility, and because of the rapid warming rates, which cannot be explained by natural cycles, the evidence I have proved shows that in fact climate change does exist. Thank you, and this is my presentation.